Welcome back to Flagrant Foul Fridays. I'm your host, Nick, and my co host with me today is Christian.
Hello, hello.
Today, we're going to continue to cover sumo a little bit, and we're also going to have a special segment that is non NBA players' NBA draft. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's kind of a confusing title, but essentially, me and Nick picked an NBA starting five with a six-man and a coach of non-NBA players, but we're gonna draft them as if they were going to play in the NBA. So really, the only restriction we gave ourselves is that whoever we pick has to be like in their current state. So for example, you can't pick someone when they were like 20 years old just because they were an athlete back then or something. Um, but besides that, I think that's really our only restriction. And essentially, this isn't even really a draft because we might end up picking duplicates of each other's picks. But we just thought it would be fun either way. There's not even really a competition per se. We might not even debate whose team would win, but we just thought it would be funny to come up with reasons why we think certain people could maybe do well in the NBA, even if you wouldn't traditionally think so. So I think what we'll do is just go one by one in the order of our positions. So I guess I'll start. So for my point guard, I picked Adam Sandler. I was watching some highlights of him playing basketball online, and originally I was looking for a shooting guard because I had already picked a point guard. Um, but after watching him play, I realized he's not a three-point shooter. He's pretty good from mid-range. But what he's really good at is passing. He has really good like vision and he has pretty decent passing. So I think putting him at point guard will be very valuable to my team, even if he's not super fast and not necessarily the greatest scorer in the world. I think he's going to give us the assists we need. Do you have any thoughts on him?
Yeah, wasn't he supposed to try out for an NBA team at one point?
Yeah, I'm
I
not sure
thought.
actually, but he's been playing his whole life. You think that's a good pick for me?
Yeah. I mean, he's a pretty good player, street ball player, I'd say.
Yeah.
For my point guard, I'm going to take Grayson Boucher, also known as the Professor.
I almost took him, but I figured he's too close to being in the NBA for that to be like a fun pick, in my opinion. I kind of wanted to challenge myself, but I totally get it.
He's definitely going to break Adam Sandler's ankles.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, he definitely could do okay in the NBA. He's a little short, but um, yeah. I mean, out of probably all the players either of us will pick, he's probably the most NBA ready out the gate. Isn't he injured though currently?
I don't know if he's still injured or not.
I think he got a different injury after that ACL tear or whatever it was. But yeah, that's a good pick. Totally makes sense. All right, next for my shooting guard. This was originally my point guard, but I swapped him. I got CJ Stroud. So CJ Stroud actually played basketball in high school. Um, and I don't know what position he was. I think he was a point guard. But the few clips I saw of him, he seemed like a decent three-point shooter. And he's got that good, I guess, leadership background as playing a QB. So I really think he could facilitate the team if need be, as well as, make those crucial 3 points. I think him and Adam Sandler would probably work pretty well together. Thoughts on that?
I mean, I've seen clips of him before the game shooting the basketball. I've never seen him play. I've never seen him play at an actual level like high school or anything. So
Yeah, I mean, I did a little bit of research and I found some other NBA or NFL players that might be better. Like I think I saw that um, Patrick Mahomes was a pretty decent basketball player as well. Um, so he arguably might have been better, but from what I remember seeing and in the All-Star game, I think he had like 32 points or something. So I trust that he'll get the job done for me.
for my shooting guard, I went with Miles Garrett.
Wow.
He's uh he's played basketball in high school, and I think a couple years ago he was in the NBA All Star Celebrity Game, and I think he won MVP that year too. I'm not 100% sure, but
At
He
shooting
was
guard
going
though?
off. Yeah, he's only 6'4".
Yeah, but I feel like he's got a big enough body, he might do better at defending some of the bigger guys.
So like a small power forward.
Yeah, something like that. But no, I get it. I just wonder how tall your other players are gonna be then. Yeah, I like that pick though. For my small forward, I picked Shohei Ohtani. I really believe that with the right training, Shohei Ohtani could probably pick up any sport and do pretty well because he's pretty fast, he's tall, he's athletic, and he's really good at like getting the fundamentals down. That's why his batting stance and stuff is so clean. So I really believe with the right training, he could learn how to shoot the ball well. He could probably defend pretty well. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he could dunk. Now he's a little bit on the smaller side. I believe he's like 6'4". Um, but I figured with this team, it's going to be hard to pick tall people because there's not a lot of tall people that are athletic that aren't like NBA players. I mean, there is some. Like I found some swimmers, I found some like high jumpers and stuff, but I didn't really know those people, so I wanted to pick people I know.
I mean, I don't know how tall your other players are, but I'm sure he'd be a good fit for the team since he's pretty strong. He'd be a good defender, I would think.
Yeah. I I, I think he's a very coachable person, so.
For my small forward, I'm going with Tony Gonzalez. I
You
saw
know,
that he was a good basketball player in high school and he's 6'5", so
I saw that as well, but then I considered the fact that he is how old now?
he's still got to be good.
He's 49 years old. But yeah, I get that.
He's a bigger guy. He was a tight end, so he could easily still play defense
Yeah,
if he can't shoot as well anymore.
sure. Yeah, no, I get that. I just wonder if the age will be an issue. For my power forward, I picked DK Metcalf. I think this is a pretty obvious pick. We've seen him play basketball before. He can dunk, he can defend pretty well, and he's very kind of big. So I think even though he's 6'4", I think he could play kind of similar to Draymond Green in the sense that he can defend taller people probably pretty well.
Yeah, another guy that played in the celebrity game
Yep.
played really good in that celebrity game. What's his name? Oh, my power. I can't take him at power forward. He's probably gonna be the tallest guy. Shoot. Who am I gonna take at power forward? You know what? Jeez. I know who I want at my center, but I don't know who I want at power forward. You know what? This may be a bad pick, but I'm gonna take J. Cole.
You know, I almost considered taking J. Cole. Obviously not at the power forward position, but I was watching some of his highlights when he played professionally overseas, and every highlight I saw was him either getting an open layup or airballing threes. So that made me change my mind.
You know what? I could have put him at the six man or the shooting guard.
Yeah, that's true. Um, but I don't hate that pick. He's definitely pretty good. I don't think he's actually good at a competitive level. But then again, I think both of our teams are losing every game if they played actual NBA players. All right, next, for center, I wanted someone tall, and I was researching some athletic people that are tall, and I was initially going to take 6'9" Tyson Fury, but I figured he's kind of on the heavier, slow side, so I wanted someone that, although maybe they're a little bit less tall, they are still able to jump high, defend well, that sort of thing. So I picked Erling Haaland. I believe he's only 6'5", but he is incredibly fast, which means that my team is pretty much full of fast people, except Adam Sandler. So in theory, my team should be pretty good at fast breaks. He also has an insane vertical. So I think he'll be able to dunk, get some alley-oops, probably get some blocks. Um, Maybe not the best defender possible, but I think he'll give us some good offense as a center.
I don't know him that well, so I can't really give you any input.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But at my center, I'm going to take, you may know him, you may not, Christopher London.
You know, I actually kind of considered him, but like I said, I kind of wanted to steer away from basketball players, even though technically that's within the rules. Yeah, I mean that's a great pick. He's what, like 6'10" or something?
Yeah. So definitely will be big help in the paint against these somewhat smaller guys, especially J. Cole at the power forward.
Yeah, I'm not sure that his defense is the best. Like he's pretty lightweight.
He's a good stretch big, though.
Yeah, definitely. That's probably your best player, I would say. Well, the professor's up there, but it's kind of a different play style, I suppose. Yeah, I like that pick. For my sixth man, I actually almost put this as a starter, but he's only 6 foot tall, and I feel like what he's gonna do really good is gonna be more valuable as a sixth man because then I can throw him in when I need that, and that is going to be Aunishki, the sumo wrestler.
Jeez,
I'm going to put him as a small forward and possibly a power forward backup. My thinking is, even though he's 6 foot, he has really good endurance. He's pretty quick, and he's like 300 some pounds. So I figure once you have a good lead or something, you just throw him in there, maybe give him the ball down low, and I just feel like you're not gonna defend him. Even if you're taller than him and you force him to pass, he's just gonna be a nuisance. And I feel like even on defense, he's gonna be a bit of a nuisance. So I feel like in some regards, he's gonna play like a smaller Shaq.
yeah. Uh,
I mean, you see the thinking here, right?
yeah, I can see it. I can definitely see it. I think for my next pick, I'm gonna go with Rashid Shaheed.
Okay.
I don't know if he's good at defense, but we're gonna put him at backup shooting guard.
Do you know if he even plays basketball?
No, but he's got that speed, so he's gonna be able to get back on defense a lot, a lot faster.
Fair enough. I feel like he probably can shoot the ball. I'd be kind of shocked if he's never played basketball. Um, yeah, that I think he's just a good athlete. That's probably a good pick. And then for my coach, I have no clue if he has any knowledge on basketball, but I imagine he's the type of guy to do a lot of research before he does any coaching job. So I think give him some time to learn the game and stuff if needed, and I think he's going to bring results. I ended up picking Kurt Signetti. If you don't know who he is, Google him.
You should know who he is.
Do you like that pick?
I mean, it's a strong pick since they just won the national championship.
Yeah.
But I think my coach is gonna get uh, a little more impact to our team.
Okay.
Kevin Hart. He knows about basketball, and he's a funny guy. He could get the team going.
We really have two different types of coaches. Yours is like a basketball knowledge coach, but he doesn't necessarily take things serious. Mine is a probably no basketball knowledge coach, but he takes everything super serious.
I wonder if he does know basketball since Indiana's a big basketball school, or their whole state included.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. I would find it hard to believe he doesn't like know anything about it.
You see, if we did this the other way, I probably would have taken like Abraham Lincoln. But obviously, I can't do Abraham Lincoln because he's not alive.
Yeah.
If we would have did like any age, or it didn't matter how old or whatever.
All right. Well, I think that'll about do it for this segment. Again, our teams are, for me, Adam Sandler, CJ Stroud, Shohei Ohtani, DK Metcalf, Erling Haaland, and Alnishki, and then Coach Kurt Signetti. And Nick's is Grayson Boucher, Miles Garrett, Tony Gonzalez, J. Cole, Christopher London, Rashid Shaheed, and Coach Kevin Hart. Honestly, if our teams played each other, I could see an argument for both teams winning.
I think I probably could have did a little bit better if I would have thought of a power forward instead of just putting J. Cole at power forward. Because now
Yeah,
he's going to get dunked on by DK Metcalf.
yeah, and then when Alnishki's in, I don't think J. Cole's guarding Alnishki. Yeah. Um, but no, I
I don't think
like
anybody can guard him except maybe Shaq.
yeah. No, I think these are fun teams though. Yeah. All right, now we're going to move on to the college football segment. So first of all, a little update on last week. Ole Miss quarterback Trinidad Chambliss' lawyers have officially filed his lawsuit um, for an injunction in state court in Mississippi. This is, of course, for his eligibility in 2026. The lawsuit is in Chancery Court of Lafayette County, which is where Oxford is located. Chancery courts are the only ones authorized to grant injunctions in Mississippi. So we will continue to follow that to the best of our ability and let you know any updates on that in the future. Definitely a unique situation that could somehow influence the future of college football. I could see them adding rules because of this.
Yeah, I think they'll probably change the way the red shirt works soon and also change the way the medical red shirts work as well. Got some more legal action. Duke is suing their quarterback Darian Mensah for alleged violation of NIL deal, which was their effort to stop him from entering the transfer portal. There's not much on this at the time, but the case is scheduled to be February 2nd. So we'll update as we get updates.
And the Big 12 title game will move to Friday night in 2026. It was recently on Saturday at noon.
Now to the national championship game.
Yeah, so I thought it was a pretty good game. Um, Really a big defensive battle the first half, um, which is about what I expected. I thought that Miami was playing a bit conservative though in the first half. Um, and then the final parts of the game were kind of scary. I almost thought Miami might tie it or win the game or something. Um, but of course, Carson Beck did Carson Beck things and threw a pick.
I really didn't watch the game, but I saw some highlights. Um, yeah, Carson Beck doing the thing he's good at. I mean, the beginning of the season, he was like 12 touchdowns for 9 interceptions. So, kind of sold. Time to get out.
Um, Speaking of Carson Beck, he has now lost just 6 games in his entire college football career. And in 4 of those, the final offensive play was an interception from him. So I really don't think this ending was that much of a surprise. And really, rewatching the replay, his receiver was kind of open, but he underthrew him. I mean, at the very least, if he throws it at the correct distance, it probably goes incomplete and they get another chance. But you just can't underthrow a guy with the game on the line like that.
Yeah, I saw that play, and there was no way that that pass was going to be completed. The receiver was too far in front of the ball, and the defender just turned around and he basically threw it right to the defender.
Yeah. I will say though, after the game, you can really feel the impact that this has on the entire Indiana fan base, really. I mean, people are crying and they're just so happy. I mean, People in my dorm were screaming when they had that interception because uh, I'm in Indiana currently, so it really means a lot to these people. So that's kind of great to see. And really, I figured Indiana would win, and honestly, it's a great win for the Big Ten. So speaking of Indiana, this is their first national championship in school's history, and they're the second team in college football history to finish 16-0. The other was what, LSU?
No, Yale, I
Oh
think.
yeah, that's right, because there was more games back then. But LSU was 15-0, right?
Yeah, LSU was 15-0, and so was Michigan.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So yeah, that's a big accomplishment. Um,
On the topic of the college football championship game, Mark Fletcher Jr. passed Ezekiel Elliott for the most rushing yards in college football playoff history and also had the second longest rushing touchdown in the title game, in the history of the title game.
yeah,
I don't even think he was anywhere near Heisman voting. I never heard of him before, but I guess he went off in the playoffs.
yeah, I have to agree.
Big Ten teams have now won the last three national championships in a row. Indiana became the third, like we said before. And Indiana had three bowl games prior to this season that they won from 1899, like I said, up until last season. And they won three alone this year.
Yeah, it really just speaks to how like big of a turnaround this has been for that school. I mean, they have the most losses of any college football team in history, partially because of how old they are. I've mentioned that in the previous weeks, but the fact that they've now matched the same amount of bowl game wins as in what, 125 years in 1 year is pretty crazy.
Yeah, hopefully Kurt Signetti can continue success at Indiana.
Yeah, speaking of Kurt Signetti, we got a couple stats about him. Just to speak again to his greatness. These stats don't even need to be said to, you know, say how good he is, but I thought we'd bring him up anyways. So, obviously, he led Indiana to a 16-0 undefeated season this year. He led Indiana to its first Big Ten title since 1967. He led Indiana to the first bowl game win since 1991 and first Rose Bowl win ever. He led Indiana to its first college football playoff win. He has a 27-2 record at Indiana, and he's been there, what, 2 years?
Yes.
I also believe he has the highest win percentage of any coach in college football right now. Um, but he has a lot smaller sample size. I believe it's pretty similar to like where Ryan Day was at this point in his career, but then Ryan Day kind of started losing a little bit more over the course of his career. But I think Ryan Day's in second still with like an 87%, I want to say. So, yeah, I mean, I expect that will probably go down if he stays in college football. Some people think he's going to go to the NFL. Some people think he might retire. I don't know. But either way, that's really impressive to have a 27-2 record within the first 2 years of a program that historically has been bad. Um, he coached the first ever Heisman winner at Indiana. He is a two-time AP Coach of the Year, two-time Big Ten Coach of the Year, two-time Walter Camp Coach of the Year, and led Indiana to their first ever college football playoff national championship. I mean, what can this guy not do, honestly?
What can he not do for Indiana?
I mean, he took
Football.
now, I mean, admittedly, his team, I think we looked at that one table a while back, has a decent amount of transfer students that are starting, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think very many of them are better than like 3 stars. So even though it's a team built somewhat on transfers, there's still players that maybe would have gotten overlooked or you wouldn't expect to do well. So that's big. I'm honestly really curious how long he's going to continue to coach, whether that's in college football or the NFL. And I wonder if he can continue to produce these results even if he goes somewhere else.
Earlier this week, we got updates on the college football AP poll. This is the final AP poll of the 2025-26 season. Obviously, Indiana finished at first and Miami finished in second since they were the winner and the runner up. Ole Miss at 3, Oregon at 4, Ohio State at 5, Georgia at 6, Texas Tech at 7, Texas A&M at 8, Alabama 9, and Notre Dame at 10. I know I saw the Big Ten is leading the top 25 right now with the SEC right behind them. I think the Big Ten has 6 and the SEC has 5. So pretty impressive to see the Big Ten be on top of the top 25 and kind of take over college football the past couple seasons that the NIL came out.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to note is that Ohio State in the playoffs this year lost to the two teams that made the championship. So honestly, this gives me a lot of hope for next year when we have a Heisman quarterback who's coming into his what, sophomore year.
Yeah, redshirt soft.
So in theory, he could win the Heisman that year. Uh, and the biggest thing I worry about is some of the transfers and stuff that we're losing and gaining. Uh, I really want to see our O line get better. I want to see our kicker get better, which he's leaving anyways. So we kind of have to get a new kicker. Um, but yeah, I really think if we get the right coaching staff, get the right line and stuff, that we could definitely, at the very least, make the playoffs. Um, One thing to note though, I'm looking at their schedule for next year, and we have to play Texas, Indiana, Michigan, of course, and Oregon and USC. Those are the ranked teams, I believe. Well, currently ranked teams that we have to play next year. So that's four ranked teams that we're gonna have to play next year as of now. So
And
that's a
that could
little
even
bit,
go up because I know there's some teams that are kind of in between. They are top 25 sometimes and they're not top 25.
yeah, like we have to play Illinois also and Iowa. Other than that, I don't expect the others to be ranked. Certainly not Ball State. Uh,
Never know. Maybe
well,
one
yeah,
year.
you never know. So, yeah, that'll be a pretty tough year, but on the bright side, if we do well during the regular season, I don't see a reason why we're gonna do terrible in the playoffs. But who knows?
Moving on to the transfer portal, you kind of mentioned that Ohio State's losing their kicker. Well, they signed Baylor kicker Connor Hawkins. He's a redshirt freshman currently. His career long is 54 yards, and he's 3 for 4 on 50 plus yard field goals. And he went 18 for 22 on field goals last season or this past season.
Honestly, I don't know a ton about him, but I feel like he's probably gonna be an upgrade for us.
We just hope we have no more New Year's Eve games.
And it's really hard to compare kickers because a lot of the times the kicks that they end up missing are during big moments. So how do we compare someone at Baylor who hasn't had a lot of big game moments like in the playoffs to someone that has been in the playoffs and failed at those big game moments? It's really just I guess time will tell.
We also don't know if those misses were because of, like you said, the big moments, or if it was weather related. Because
Yeah,
I didn't see any of the highlights for his kicking, but
I haven't
so
either,
we don't
but
know.
I mean, it sounds like he's decent at the very least. So I figure with the right coaching and practice, he hopefully will give us those big game kicks that we need. Another transfer, we got USC quarterback Malachi Nelson committing to Syracuse.
Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza's brother Alberto Mendoza committed to Georgia Tech.
I think that's a pretty good fit for him. I think Georgia Tech is one of those teams that has been, they used to be known as like the upset team, but this year they actually showed a lot of promise until kind of the later parts of the season. So assuming he can start for them, uh, I think that's probably a good fit.
Yeah, I think they could be a good team with him at quarterback.
I don't know much about him, so I don't even know if he's a good quarterback, to be honest. But I figure he's probably got to be pretty decent. And then lastly, we got Cal quarterback Devin Brown committing to Weber State. Which didn't we already talk about him? Is he committed somewhere else now?
No, we talked about him entering the transfer portal when we were talking about players who were planning to enter the transfer portal.
Ah,
But
gotcha.
I think the main reason he probably committed to Weber State is because he wants playing time. I don't know if he's going to really make
Oh,
it to
it's
the next
Weaver.
level. Yeah, it's Weber State.
Okay, I've never heard of it.
I think Damian Lillard went there for college.
Hmm, that's pretty fun. Oh, it's in Utah. I think it's near Salt Lake City.
I have no idea. The only thing I know about it is that Damian Lillard went there.
All right, well, yeah, I mean, I wish him the best. He's probably won't make the NFL, but it's always nice to finish out your college career as a starter. So, yeah, I hope he has a good season there. And then now we have some returning players. We have Oklahoma. John Mateers is returning to the school. Do you know what position he is?
He's the quarterback.
Quarterback? Okay. Is he pretty decent?
He had good games, but I think, if I remember right, he had a bad game against Texas. So I think he kind of struggles in the big games.
Well, he might have a good year next year. Who knows?
We have two Ohio State players returning next season: cornerback Jermaine Matthews Jr. and defensive end Kenyatta Jackson Jr.
Yeah. And that is going to do it for our college football segment. So now we're going to move on to the NFL. So we're going to start with an update on our bracket predictions. So if you remember the first week of the playoffs, we made a bracket prediction. And then after that week, I had two wrong predictions, I believe, but I don't think I had those teams going any further. So I kind of made an updated bracket. Um, Nick has Nick didn't mess up anything, so his bracket is technically still good. But either way, we're gonna update last week's predictions. So last week I said that the Seahawks, the Rams, the Broncos, and the Texans would win. I got 3 out of 4 of those right. The only one I got wrong was the Texans did not win. It was the Patriots that won. Who would have thought that CJ Stroud would have had two back-to-back bad games? Anyways, uh, I don't remember my original prediction with regards to how far the Texans or Patriots would go. And then Nick got 4 out of 4 right again. He said that the Seahawks, Rams, Broncos, and Patriots would win. I know you were kind of iffy on if the Patriots would win, but you brought up how the Texans have not gotten out of the divisional or won it, I don't think ever, right?
Yeah, they haven't really made it far.
So your prediction about that was right.
Yeah,
How do
ten
you
for ten
feel?
now. I don't feel the best because in my original prediction I had the Broncos going to the Super Bowl, and now that Bo Nix is hurt, that's probably not happening.
Well, I did too. So
I
guess we'll
say we
see what
give
happens.
ourselves a little leeway since Bo Nix' injury was unexpected.
Yeah, I suppose. And unless their backup quarterback plays well and they still lose. I feel like if he plays well and they still lose, then I feel like we're just wrong, you know? But yeah, it is kind of interesting now that with that injury, we very likely might see the Patriots versus the Seahawks, which would be
The
a
2014 rematch.
yeah, it's a rematch, but completely different teams, basically. I do think it would be really funny if we're like on the goal line towards the end of the game and we run the ball to win the game. So we're basically making up for our past mistakes.
We finally
I
get
saw
redemption.
I saw some people joking that we should sign Marshawn Lynch since
Yeah, I saw that too.
since Charlemagne, is that his name?
Charbonnet. Yeah.
Charbonnet is injured. So, fun fact about the conference championships. In the past, any team that was playing in the conference championship with an anniversary patch is basically where on the uniform they have some sort of number or something that is signifying that that team has an anniversary. So, for example, 10-year anniversary, 50-year anniversary, etc. Anyways, any team that has made it to the conference championship with an anniversary patch has lost in the championship. And this isn't just like a one or two team occurrence. As far as I know, this has happened 6 times. So I was kind of curious, were all of these teams kind of bad? Were they the one seed like the Seahawks? Um, so here's the information I found out. So 1985 Rams were celebrating their 40th anniversary. They were the number 2 seed in the NFC. Then the 1986 Washington Redskins, or I guess Commanders now, uh, were celebrating their 50th anniversary, and they were the number 4 seed in the NFC. And then 2000, the Vikings were celebrating their 40th anniversary, and they were the number 2 seed in the NFC. The 2009 Jets were celebrating their 50th anniversary. They were the number 5 seed of the AFC. And next we got the 2021 49ers, who were celebrating their 75th anniversary. They were the number 6 seed in the NFC. And then lastly, the 2023 Lions were celebrating their 90th anniversary and were the number 3 seed in the NFC. So with that being said, as far as I know, there's never been a 1 seed who also had the anniversary patch. So perhaps the Seahawks can break that curse.
We hope.
And the Seahawks are celebrating their 40th
50th.
anniversary? 50th? Yeah, 50th, you're right. 1976.
1975.
No. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, the year changes. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Because we're celebrating the 2025 season?
Yeah, the 75-76 season was their first season.
Okay. So yeah, 50 years of the Seahawks. And
One Super Bowl.
yeah, but I mean, we got the Pope curse, or not curse. Is it
The
blessing?
Pokers.
I guess it's a blessing that they tend to win the Super Bowl when the new Pope is a thing, right?
They make the Super Bowl.
Make the Super Bowl.
And the
So
one seed.
yeah, so
And three losses.
we have kind of conflicting things going on right now. All I'm saying is, if we do end up losing, at least we have something to blame it on. The anniversary patch.
If Sam Darnold throws 4 interceptions, it's the anniversary patch.
Yep. One interception for every 10 years. -1.
-1. Moving on, Texans linebacker Aziz Al-Shahir was fined $11,500 for a violation of NFL uniform and equipment rules for wearing eye black that said "Stop the Genocide." I don't know what he was referring to, but I find it kind of odd that he's trying to support something, and they're like, "Yeah, here's a fine for that."
Okay, so I'm pretty confident he's referring to the Israel Palestine conflict going on right now. I'm like 99% sure because when people say that, that's most likely what they're talking about currently. I think there also might be a genocide happening in Nigeria, so I guess it could have been that. Either way, I think the NFL is very clear about like talking about politics and stuff. We've seen people get fined in the past for what kneeling during the anthem and stuff, right?
Yeah,
So I'm not really surprised about this. I will say I think it's good to see that the NFL is kind of showing uh, that they're willing to find people no matter, I guess, what side they take. I don't know if this is something worth being fined over, but I do get it because it is a business and they're very strict about like what you can show and can't show on the TV because they're even like strict about sponsors, right? Like you can't wear certain types of socks and stuff.
Yeah, you can't have. Well, that might be the NBA for tattoos, but yeah, you can't wear certain kind of cleats. You can't wear certain kind of socks.
Yeah. So I mean, this doesn't surprise me too much, but I can see why people could be upset about this. Also, 49ers general manager John Lynch reported that wide receiver Brandon Ayuk will not return next season. Now, I don't know about you, Nick, but this is a little bit surprising to me because he was pretty decent for them, I thought.
Yeah, he was one of their best receivers, so he'd be a good pickup for any team that's looking for a receiver this offseason. Next, I want to talk about something that I found that I thought was worth talking about was the dynasty that could have been in Buffalo. Over the last 6 years, the Buffalo Bills have scored the most points. Dallas is number two. They've allowed the fewest points. Kansas City's number two. They have the best record with Kansas City at number two. And they have a point differential of 902. No other team has more than 600.
Seems like every year in the playoffs, they always lose because of some sort of controversial call.
It kind of sucks that their dynasty was at the same time as Kansas City's. And they just ended up losing to Kansas City, I'm pretty sure, every time. Except this year.
Yeah, um, I really feel like Bills is almost a cursed organization. What, they made how many Super Bowls in a row that they all lost?
Yeah, they made it to four Super Bowls in the 90s and lost all four.
Yeah, maybe their new stadium will somehow break that curse. I don't know how it will, but who knows? But yeah, no, it's definitely sad to see what could have been. Kind of feel bad for Josh Allen.
I hope they can get somewhere next year because I saw he was real upset after that game. It's kind of sad to see that he hasn't been able to make a Super Bowl yet.
All right, so next we have a fun little statistic that we found. Since 2002, 7 of the 8 teams that have beat the 49ers in the playoffs have won the Super Bowl. This includes the 2002 Buccaneers, 2011 Giants, 2012 Ravens, 2013 Seahawks, 2019 Chiefs, 2021 Rams, 2023 Chiefs, and the Eagles, the 2020 the 2022 Eagles are the only team that did not win. They lost to the Chiefs. So that's a pretty crazy stat, to be honest. Um, Obviously, the 49ers were in some of those Super Bowls, I believe. So they lost directly because of those teams. Um, but either way, it's kind of a crazy statistic.
So let's talk about the Seahawks game.
Yeah, so the first thing I want to bring up is I think our defense looked amazing. I mean, our defense always looks good, but this game against the 49ers especially, I thought they looked great. I think we had one interception. I think we forced two fumbles. We didn't allow any touchdowns. And yeah, I mean our offense looked good too. We probably could have scored 50 if we really wanted to. At one point we put in the backups, so which you don't see that a lot in playoffs.
Yeah, I think they definitely made a statement for the rest of the playoffs, regardless of if it was the ICU 49ers or not. I mean, I saw a lot of people complaining that they were injured, but then I saw they only had four injuries.
Yeah, I mean, it, the 49ers definitely weren't at their peak, but when you win by that margin, I don't see how even if they had all their players, they're not still going to lose that game. They might score a touchdown, But yeah, either way, I think we just showed that we were pretty dominant. I hope that we can continue to build off of that momentum into next week. I think our next game is potentially going to be pretty tough. And actually, this season, the Rams, when you look at the Rams versus the Seahawks statistics, we have almost virtually the same amount of points. We have the same wins, 1-1. I think the yards are almost the same too, something like that. So it's really a coin toss, it seems like. Although I could see our defense kind of stepping up to shut them down, even though they have the number one offense in the league. Uh, Another thing about the 49ers game, JSN only had 19 yards and a touchdown, and Sam Darnold had less than 130 yards, yet we still scored 41 points. And Kenneth Walker, I believe, had what, 3 touchdowns?
He had 3 touchdowns and over 140 rushing yards.
So that just goes to show that even if Sam Darnold is still somewhat injured, I don't think we have to rely on him to win games, which is a really good sign for a team.
And it goes to show that he can step up when Zach Charbonnet can't be there.
True. Um, Actually, that Seahawks win was the largest point differential in the last 10 years for them. It was a 35 point differential.
For any playoff game.
Oh, any playoff game, not just wow. That's crazy.
I think the Panthers, I don't remember who they played, but the Panthers win in 2015 was like 34 points. So they just barely got the largest point differential.
Yeah, and I think I saw something like that the Seahawks haven't allowed a touchdown since December 18th or something like that,
Yeah,
which
against the
was
Rams.
Rams, yeah. So that's kind of insane.
Another insane stat about the Seahawks is they've only allowed one rush over 11 yards in the last 6 games. Brock Purdy had an 18-yard rush in the NFC divisional round. Before that, they had 0 rushes over 11 yards.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, when you watch our defense, it's crazy to see how much like every position is working to, shut down the offense. We see cornerbacks making tackles in the backfield, not necessarily blitzes, but they just pick up on the fact that it's a run and quickly get there. Devin Witherspoon's really good at this. We see linebackers making pretty good pass coverage plays, and yeah, I did see glimpses of some potential issues. I think sometimes um, some like out route kind of check down passes were making first downs when they shouldn't have. But those type of plays are kind of hard to cover because you can eliminate 99% of the throw attempts, but that 1% can be hard to deal with. You really, as a defensive coordinator, you can't really defend every possibility. You gotta pick and choose. So it doesn't worry me too much, but yeah. Um, Also, Rashid Shaheed is the only NFL player with a kick return and punt return touchdown this season. He has three total with a 95-yard kick return to start against the 49ers. This was the longest playoff kick return in Seahawks franchise history. And that was really, really fun to watch live. I'm sure it was even better to watch in person with how loud the stadium got and everything. I mean, it even got picked up on the seismic reader. Uh, but yeah, that was a great way to start the game. When I saw that flag come out, I thought it was going to be on us, and I got really scared.
Yeah, I
But
thought that was going to be like a block in the back or a holding.
yeah, but yeah, that was a great way to set the tone. So
Yeah, so they won the game in the first 13 seconds.
pretty much. We talked about Kenneth Walker a little bit earlier. He became the first Seahawk with 3 rushing touchdowns in a playoff game since Sean Alexander.
Eddie Pinero hit a 56-yard field goal to set the record for the longest field goal in 49ers playoff history. So a little bit of history happening in that game as well.
Despite it being a blowout, yeah. And one thing I saw today or this week was that the Commanders showed off a sneak peek of some of their renderings for their new stadium. Um, There also has been a couple other renderings from, I think there's about 6 different stadiums that are in the works. I think what the Browns, the Bills,
The
the
Titans.
Titans, Commanders. So yeah, a lot of stadiums in the works. But anyways, the Commanders specifically, I don't know about you, Nick, but I really liked the design. They kind of went for like a monument look where it has like kind of pillars and it's like white. And I think they're gonna put it near the Washington Monument. I think I saw in the background. So it's probably a pretty cool area. I think it's surrounded by like a river or something. But yeah, I really liked how it looked like a monument. What about you?
Yeah, I thought it kind of looked like the Lincoln Memorial myself because of those
Yeah,
pillars around the outside, but it's a cool way to implement the city into their stadium.
yeah, definitely. So I kind of hope that that's the look they do end up going with.
Yeah, so if
And
you
go.
go to a Commanders game, don't go to the Lincoln Memorial instead of the actual stadium.
Oh, that's a little bit smaller than the stadium, but I could see how you could mix it up. One thing that has been a hot topic on a lot of podcasts and really just the sports world in general was the Bills Broncos overtime interception call. Uh, they called it an interception on the field. The Broncos got the ball and then they went on to win with a game-winning field goal. But a lot of people were making the argument that the Bills player should have been down by contact, even though the Broncos player stole the ball after like he was down. It's really hard to tell, especially real speed. Um, and I think that might be part of it is that they called it an interception on the field, so they need like irrefutable evidence to overturn it. I really, after watching it a couple times, I don't really have an opinion on it. I don't know what to call it. To me, I would probably say he's down by contact, but at the same time, he stripped the ball like as he was touching the ground, so I don't really know what the rules say about like being down versus like having possession. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on it?
I've heard from quite a few people, and I personally believe this myself. I think he was down by contact. There was a similar instance in the Texans versus Patriots game, I believe, where the player caught the ball and they kind of stripped it, but he was down by contact. Um, Watching a couple different angles of the play, it looked like he was down by contact.
I would say that other game though was a little bit different because he I think caught the ball and then his knee touched and then the guy stripped it. Whereas in this case, they were both sort of fighting over the ball as they were falling. I don't know if that makes a difference. I also noticed that the Broncos player somewhat bobbled it while he had the ball high up in the air, and then as he was bringing it to his chest is when it got stolen. I don't know if that bobble resets him having possession or what.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's definitely going to be one of those calls that will be looked back on for a long time as sort of a what if. But at the end of the day, uh, the Broncos were probably the better team, and the Bills, had some fumbles and interceptions and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. It's you hate to see a game end like that either way.
You also hate to see C.J. Stroud throw four interceptions in the first half, which became the most in a playoff half.
Yeah,
As an Ohio State fan,
a lot of people are like burning their jerseys, selling them for free, calling him a bum. I really don't get it. Like he had a great rookie year. Um, la what? This is his third year now.
yeah, this is his third season. He's made the
So
playoffs every year.
last year, I think he had kind of an up and down year, but I believe this year he has the best. Like I think he's thrown the fewest interceptions in a season this year. So like the regular season, he looked really good. Um, I don't know. I really don't know if this is a mental thing. I didn't watch the game, so I don't know if it was like a lack of blockers thing, but it's it's just odd. Personally, I think he'll bounce back from this. I think people are blowing it a bit out of proportion, but I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, to go into what you said about least interceptions, I think he was out for like 4 games for injury. So that kind of helped him a little bit to be least in interceptions. But I think he can have a turnaround season next year. At least I hope.
And he should be getting Tank Dell back, right?
Yeah, they should be getting him back. I think he was only out for this season.
So yeah, we'll see. I also saw people are criticizing his pregame routines, which is where he like uses non-football related things like a basketball and stuff. But to be honest, at that level, he can throw the ball. I don't think his warm-up routine has to be football related. In fact, he still throws the ball. It's just he also does that stuff. I think he does that kind of stuff just to kind of do stuff that he's been doing for a long time. It's kind of bad to break your routine. And also just kind of calm his mind down. So yeah, he had the worst QBR in a playoff game or playoff half of 27.2. He's also the first player with 5 fumbles and 5 interceptions in a postseason. Um, I believe Brett Favre threw 6 interceptions one time, right? In like one game, maybe?
Yeah, I believe so.
So if Brett Favre can do it, then I feel like CJ Stroud doing it is not a huge deal. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just think it's too soon to be saying anything about it. The fact that he's made it to the playoffs every year says that he's pretty decent, I feel like. If he can clean up some of these issues, fix his mentality a bit, maybe get some good players built around him, I could easily see him making the Super Bowl. One thing that I have been thinking about a lot lately is that the Bears are kind of reminding me of the Pacers last year in the sense like they're maybe not the best team, but they somehow always win in crazy ways. We see this a lot with Caleb Williams running for his life, chucking the ball downfield, and somehow getting a touchdown. Uh, Unfortunately, well, if you're a Bears fan, they could not quite pull it off this time against the Rams. Uh, but yeah, this whole playoffs, I've been thinking they kind of remind me of the Pacers. What are your thoughts on Caleb Williams?
I did see a lot of people talking about how JT Barrett is their new quarterback coach this season, and all of a sudden he takes a big jump in his play style. So whether it's JT Barrett, whether he just decided to take a step forward and finally figured out what he's doing, I know a lot of people JT Barrett should go be an offensive coordinator somewhere. Uh, Talking about Ohio State, but yeah, I think he'll have a good season next season and potentially take the Bears to the NFC title game. I think they'll definitely make the playoffs again next season if he keeps it up.
You know, when you look at his stats this season, he's had like almost 4,000 yards and I think about 7 interceptions. So that alone makes me feel like he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. My big concern with him is that he's sitting around 55 to maybe 60% completion percentage. Now, admittedly, some of that is throwing the ball away, which is a smart move to make. But I feel like I, I'm just not quite there. I see a lot of Bears fans like really excited about him. And admittedly, the Bears have had really bad quarterbacks in the past. So anything, better than that is a win. But I just feel like he needs to clean up that completion percentage and I guess big game moments. We've seen him kind of lose in some big games, but he hasn't been in the league long. So that's, take that with a grain of salt. But anyways, if I think if he cleans up that completion percentage issue, I could easily see him being a top 3 quarterback in the league. Um, and it would make my thoughts on him improve. I don't hate him though. I just think Bears fans act like he's the greatest quarterback in the history of the game sometimes, and I think that's a bit of a overestimate. What do you think?
Um, yeah, I don't think he's anything super big. I just think he had a good season this year, but I definitely think he could be one of the better Bears quarterbacks of this century.
Yeah, he definitely has a lot of potential. So the playoff games this week are the Rams at the Seahawks and the Patriots at the Broncos. Fun fact about that, both games have a coach named Mike and a coach named Sean. That is, of course, Sean McVay and Mike McDonald, and Mike Ravel and Sean
Vrabel.
Payton. Oh, Rabel and Sean Payton. So that's a kind of fun stat.
So we could see Mike versus Mike in the Super Bowl,
Or Sean versus Sean.
or Mike versus Sean again.
Yeah. So moving on to some injuries, we kind of mentioned this earlier, but Bo Nix has suffered a broken ankle. This was a big shock to everyone because after they won the game, it was announced in a post-game interview. No one knew that he was hurt. So this was like a congratulations, you won, and then immediately followed by uh-oh, the Broncos might not win the playoffs. So, yeah, Jarrett Stidham will start in the AFC Championship for them. Fun fact about him, unless you're a Broncos fan, this is a scary fact about him. He did not attempt a single pass this season, and he's the only backup quarterback to do so. The Broncos are also the only team in the NFL whose backup quarterback did not attempt a single pass last season. So it's really hard to say what he's gonna come out and do. I will say, coming out of college and high school, I believe, he was a pretty highly recruited player, or at least out of high school. So he definitely has the potential to be great. I see some people comparing him to Nick Foles. Some people think he's going to come in and win the Super Bowl. Time will tell, of course. But for me personally, I don't have enough information to say what he is or isn't going to do. I think they might run the ball a lot, but who knows?
Yeah, I did see Nick Foles make a comment that the Patriots have struggled against backup quarterbacks in championship games.
Yeah. But I'll be excited to see if he can, do something big. Jake Tonjes for the 49ers initially thought to have tore his Achilles, but it has come out that he has suffered plantar fasciitis. Um, this was, of course, during the Seahawks game. So this is their backup tight end who also have gotten injured. So yeah, the 49ers just can't catch a break. And after George Kittle got hurt, their backup got hurt.
At
But
least their season's over.
yeah, at least the season's over, and I'm pretty sure had it been an Achilles injury, he probably would have had a slower recovery. So that's probably good news.
In the Seahawks 49ers game, Zach Charbonnet came out with an injury as well. He suffered a season ending knee injury and he will require surgery. So he'll be out the remainder of the playoffs.
Yeah, it's a little scary, but I do trust Kenneth Walker. Either way, though, it's really sad to see that happen.
I also saw there's a chance that J.K. Dobbins makes his return against the Patriots. So that'll be a little bit of help for them offensively after losing Bo Nix.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins had a really good start to his NFL career with the Ravens, right?
I think he started on the Chargers.
Did he? I swear he was on the Ravens.
Well, he played for the Chargers. He might have started on the Ravens.
Mm. But yeah, then I think he's been battling some injuries off and on, so
He
um
started on the Ravens and he was on the Chargers last year.
yeah. So it's hard to say what he might do in this game, especially if he is the starter and not some sort of rotation player. But it's definitely big. I would not be surprised if somehow he carries the back on carries the team on his back. So, but yeah, it's always good to see him back. He was one of my favorite running backs in Ohio State history. So we got some coaching updates. If you remember, the NFL coaching world right now is kind of crazy. I believe we said over one fourth of the coaches are, or I guess one fourth of the teams are coachless right now. So that's crazy. This week we even got some more firings. So first of all, John Harbaugh finalized a 5-year deal to be the head coach of the Giants.
The Falcons final are working to finalize. They probably finalized it by the time this comes out, but they're planning on making Kevin Stefanski their head coach.
And the Green Bay Packers are working to bring back general manager Brian Gutekunst. Packers also extended head coach Matt LaFleur.
The Bills fired head coach Sean McDermott after their playoff loss this weekend.
I was a little surprised by this, but he has been on the team for a decent amount of time. You kind of have to wonder, is he really the reason they're not getting the playoff success? Hard to say. But again, with the team that they have, I think they're going to be good no matter what coach they have. So perhaps this isn't going to be a big deal. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about this? It caught me off guard.
Yeah, I mean, they've consistently made the playoffs, but I think their thinking is they want to go further than the AFC. They want to go to the Super Bowl and they want to win the Super Bowl. And I mean, it's kind of weird to see them go, but they want to win now because they got Josh Allen. So I see their side of it, but it's still kind of uh, weird that they pulled the trigger after they barely lost to the Bill or the Broncos.
And the Lions are hiring Cardinals' former offensive coordinator, Drew Petzing, to become their offensive coordinator.
Dolphins are hiring Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley as their next head coach.
And the Titans are hiring 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh as their next head coach.
The Chargers are hiring Mike McDaniel as their next offensive coordinator.
Which I was kind of surprised that he's not going for a head coaching role. I mean, maybe he was, no one wanted him. But to be honest, I could see him probably being a better fit as an offensive coordinator.
I think with how the Chargers' offense is, he'll definitely excel as their offensive coordinator. It just all depends on what he does.
I think it also takes a lot off of his plate so he can focus a lot more on just one thing. And lastly, the Buccaneers are hiring former Steelers special teams coordinator Danny Smith as their new special teams coordinator.
And that'll be the end of our NFL segment. We will now be moving on to some NBA news. And we have an update about the betting scandal.
For the NBA.
Yeah, the NBA betting scandal with like Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups and
Oh, that was a long time ago. I forgot about that. We covered that, right?
yeah, but they have a little bit more evidence now that
Okay.
but there's
Yeah,
still players suspended.
man, that was probably one of our first couple episodes, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Speaking of which, I meant to say this at the start of the podcast. This is technically our 10th episode anniversary, if you will. So a big milestone for the Flagrant Foul Fridays podcast.
We hope to grow and eventually hit 100.
Yeah, I look forward to editing all 90 of those. All right, so first of all, Timothy McCormack received a 2-year prison sentence. He became the first to be sentenced for the role in the betting scandal, which is linked to Jonte Porter and Terry Rozier. He said that
He's he's specifically linked to Jonte Porter and Terry Rozier that they found.
okay, and he said in an interview or something, or I don't know, in court maybe, Either way,
Yeah,
he said that he's struggled with gambling addiction for more than half of his life. I mean, does that excuse it? But I mean, yeah, I don't know.
it goes to show people who gamble are willing to do anything to win.
The problem with gambling is like once you're addicted to it, you get yourself in such a big hole potentially with money loss that you just keep doing it at the chance that you're gonna fix all your past mistakes, you know?
Yeah, when I first became old enough to gamble, I downloaded FanDuel. I did probably one whole NFL season worth of gambling, and then I just gave it up. There's
What
no
was your
point in
net
wasting all
gain?
that money. I didn't do a lot. I think like minus $100.
Okay, that's not too bad, but it definitely goes to show that
But I do want to say I did DraftKings. No, Bet365, and they had a thing where you could get like $50 in bonus bets, and I did a LeBron bet and a Curry bet and something else, and it won me $250. So I cashed out. I wasn't going to play that money, so I probably came out even, but I didn't keep track of everything. So
but we are not condoning that you should do that.
yeah, do not gamble. It's not good. I
Yeah.
gave it up, and so can you.
What a great example to us all.
Let's stick on to the topic of some legal action. So, ex NBA star Lamar Odom was arrested on suspicion of a DUI in Las Vegas. He could face charges including DUI, excessive speed, and failure to maintain a travel lane. I did see this is his second one. He had one in like 2013 when he married somebody. I don't remember who it was now. They like got in a
Yeah.
fight or something, and he started driving while under the influence.
Yeah, I mean, if it's his second time, I expect the punishment could be a bit worse. In other news, the referees will be wearing headsets until the All-Star break to test the ability to communicate with the replay center during live action and replay time. They tried this before, but had some issues with audio quality and the ability to communicate with other referees without disruption. I don't quite get the purpose of this because during replays you can always just look at the screen. I don't feel like a headset is needed. But the live action I don't quite get. Are they just wanting refs to be able to talk across like the entire court to another ref?
Well, it's connected to the replay center, so I'm wondering if the replay center communicates to them that, hey, maybe we should take a timeout and replay this call or whatever.
So something they do in soccer, I believe, is that the replay center is connected to the sideline refs because the sideline refs can just put up the flag or something to signal that they need to take a break
Yeah,
or
I saw
look at
that soccer and the NFL and one other sport currently has this technology in use.
Hmm. So yeah, I mean, I definitely could see how this could be useful. I guess in theory, it could speed up the game because then they would know immediately to stop the play instead of having a bit of confusion. Then they'd have to meet and then talk to the replay center, then stop the play. So I definitely see the benefits. Yeah, it's certainly interesting for sure.
Earlier this week, Jonathan Kaminga said that he wants to be traded away from the Warriors. So we will see if he can get a trade worked out for him before the All Star break and the trade deadline.
Uh, and a little bit of an update on that though. We're gonna talk more about this later, but after Jimmy Butler got hurt, Jonathan Kuminga has been playing a bit more. So maybe he won't get traded now. Who knows? Bryce Sensabaugh scored the most points off the bench in a three-game stretch in Jazz history. He had 95 points, a 43, 27, and 25-point games. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see as an Ohio State fan that we finally have a player besides Mike Conley and uh, D'Angelo Russell actually playing decent.
Yeah.
I know I watched him a little bit in college, and he was a really good scorer for Ohio State. So I guess we'll see if he can elevate his game to become a starter. One thing we wanted to talk about a little bit is the Pelicans currently have the worst record in the NBA, but they do not own their first round pick. They traded their unprotected first round pick for Derek Queen, who has been having a pretty good season for them so far.
So their pick is currently going to go to the Hawks. So if they get the first overall pick, that means the Hawks are going to get the first pick in the NBA draft, which maybe makes sense why they traded Trae Young now, because they thought that they're probably going to get a good pick in the upcoming draft. Maybe they want to build around CJ McCollum. I don't know.
I guess we will see.
Either way, it's kind of a bummer for the Pelicans, even though Derek Queen has been good for them. In other news, the Thunder fall to 35 and 8 after losing to the Heat. It was 120 to 122, so a close game. But now, currently, as of today, they are 36 and 8. So, but anyways, we bring that up because um, they're two losses away from being ineligible of breaking the scoring record or
The
the
records,
record. I don't know what to call that. It's
regular season wins record, maybe.
yeah, regular season wins record.
Well, they're
So
technically one win away or one loss away from losing that because they tie the Warriors.
yeah, I guess, but I would consider a tie a win for them. So, but either way, it seems like that's pretty unlikely to happen.
Wemby been balling.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, Wemby recently shaved his head, I believe because one of his teammates did. So people are calling him Bald Wemby now. But ever since he's shaved his head, he's been balling. Like he's scoring a lot of points, he's getting blocks and stuff, which he always was doing. But the big thing is that he seems to be shooting really well from 3-point recently. So
That aerodynamic.
So you hear things about like masked LeBron, hoodie Mello, what else? Masked Kyrie. But now we got bald Wimby to add to that mix.
Speaking of bald, have we had any more incidences with Jalen Brown?
It's funny, I was thinking about that the other day. I don't believe we have, but I correct me if I'm wrong. I think he got hurt recently, right?
I don't know. He's currently in the All Star game as a starter. Um,
So I just did a quick search. I think he's just dealing with some like muscle injuries. So
Probably
he's
like
like
day to
off and
day.
on. Yeah. But I haven't seen anything. So, yeah. In other news, Anthony Edwards scored a career high of 55 points against the Spurs, but they still lost that game. Just goes to show how good the Spurs are this year.
Yeah, I'm hoping Anthony Edwards can get some success on the Timberwolves. I've kind of liked the Timberwolves, not as my favorite team, but since Carl Anthony Towns, um, so yeah, hopefully they can get some team success. Even though obviously Anthony Edwards needs a little bit of help the other night if he can score 55 and still lose. In other news, KD passed Dirk Nowitzki for sixth all time in scoring. So I believe he is currently behind Michael Jordan, which is he's currently less than 1,000 points behind Jordan, approximately 700 points behind Jordan. So he's definitely going to pass Jordan before he retires.
Yeah, most likely. I mean, assuming he doesn't get injured or something and just retire soon. Now we're going to talk about the All-Star game for the NBA. So our West starters are Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, and Steph Curry, and Victor Wembanyama. I saw a lot of people kind of upset that Ant isn't over Steph Curry, but some people make the argument that even though Ant's stats are a little bit better, Steph is getting double teamed even when he's out of bounds. So it kind of begs the question, how do you look at starters versus non-starters for the All-Star game? Do you care about impact on the game or do you care about stats? I think there's a case to be said about both.
Moving on to the East starters: Cade Cunningham, Tyrese Maxey, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jalen Brunson, and Jalen Brown. A lot
We're a
of
pretty
Jalen's.
unique East team, I feel like this year, right?
I think it's different for the most part because I don't think Tyrese Maxey has ever started or Cade Cunningham. So a little more diversity on their side, whereas the West is pretty much the
Pretty
same as
much,
last year.
pretty much normal. Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, and so for the rest of the West, we have Denny Abdijah. Abdijah? Don't
Avdia.
know. Oh, Abdia. I've never heard of him. Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards, Chet Holmgren, Jamal Murray, and Alperen Sengun.
You never heard of Denny Avdija? We've only been talking about him like 3 or 4 times during the podcast.
Oh, yeah, yeah. He's that Portland guy. Well, I've heard of him as of this year. That's why I'm still, I don't
Yeah, it's kind
recognize
of
the
a weird
name right
name.
away. If you put a picture up, I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's that Portland
Oh
guy.
yeah, that's oh yeah, that's Denny Avdia.
Uh, but yeah, it's also cool to see Jamal Murray there. Jamal Murray is really good in the regular season usually. Kind of not so good in the playoffs sometimes.
The rest of the East consists of Scotty Barnes, Jalen Duren, Jalen Johnson, Donovan Mitchell, Michael Porter Jr., Norman Powell, and Carl Anthony Towns.
I would like to point out that the East has 4 players named Jalen.
And 3 of them are spelled the same.
Yeah. In other news, LeBron James was not named as an All-Star. This is the first time in 21 years that he wasn't named an All-Star, which thus breaks his streak, which I believe was the longest streak in an NBA history, right?
Yes.
I'm not sure what second place is,
I'm sure it was probably either MJ or Kareem.
possibly. Um, we mentioned his name earlier, but Tyrese Maxey is receiving his first signature shoe with New Balance, debuting later in 2026. That's really cool to see. Not sure that it will sell super well, but if it looks cool, who knows?
Yeah, I'm not sure with it being New Balance. They're not really a very popular brand, except in dads.
Well, it's pretty popular in Japan, I think, because of Shohei Ohtani. It's also fairly popular in skateboarding, I think. So, I've always been a somewhat fan of their skate shoes. I think it has a pretty decent logo. I know it's kind of just letters, but yeah, I don't know. This could be big for New Balance. Maybe this is the start of, some other players joining them for the NBA and stuff.
So Christian saw something earlier and ended up sharing it with me. So there's 2 players in the Warriors G League that their names are LJ Cryer and Malavi Leon. So they played a G League game at 2 p.m. and they, I assume they drove to the NBA game, which was an hour and a half away without traffic, to be there at 7 p.m. And did they both make their NBA debut or just the Cryer guy?
Pretty sure that they both made their NBA debut. So yeah, they went from a G League game to an NBA game in the same day, made their NBA debut, although I believe it was in like the last minute of the game or something. And then Cryer specifically scored a three-pointer, which made it his first NBA points on his debut. So that's kind of a fun little story. You don't see that a lot. I actually maybe this is the first time ever. I don't know.
Moving on to some NBA injuries, we only have one recorded injury this
That we
week.
know of.
Yeah, that we know of this week. So Jimmy Butler is out for the remainder of the season with an ACL tear.
Yeah, this is really sad to see. The Warriors have been on a really good roll lately. Like they seem like they're finally getting their stuff together, but unfortunately he tore his ACL. And one thing people are noting is that he's kind of old. So who knows if this is going to affect his retirement plans. In some posts he made, it seems like he's pretty adamant about coming back and playing again, but you have to wonder how much this might affect him and if he might, have an early retirement as a result.
I did see there were some 49ers players in the audience. That could have a factor in it.
Bad luck rubbed off on him.
ACL tears, they're giving them away.
Yeah, that's really sad to see though. It kind of reminds me of um Derrick Rose, but obviously Derrick Rose was a lot younger and in the prime of his career. But it's always sad to see a star like that get injured in that way. So hopefully he can make a quick and good recovery, full recovery. All right, now we're gonna move on to sumo. We got a lot to cover, but I'm kind of thinking that we're just gonna go through it quickly. Um, Nick unfortunately did not have a lot of time to watch sumo this week, so he might have a little less to say, but do chime in as necessary. Um, I myself was kind of getting behind, but I caught up today. So we are currently on, we just finished day 11. Tomorrow will be day 12 of 15. So a reminder, at the end of day 4, Kirishima, Oshoma, and Abi were both, or all 4-0, and they were in the lead. Um, that has since changed. Currently, there's a three-way tie for the lead, 9-2. Aonishiki, Atami Fuji, and also Abi. So out of that initial list, Abi's the only person who is still in the lead. Um, but it's a pretty close race right now. Pretty much, I could see anyone in the top 8 or so winning it if certain losses happen. It's good to see Abi still having a potential for winning, though. I know Nick is a big Abi fan, right?
Yeah, we're rooting for Albie to win it all.
All right, so I'm gonna look over my notes and just talk about them. So day 5, I pointed out that Shishi almost beat Oshumi. He looked pretty in control actually until the end, so he got thrown out right at the end. So he was 3-2 at the end of that day. Uh, Tobizaru versus Nishiki Fuji was a great slap fight brawl, and Nishiki Fuji won. Some of the most entertaining fights I think are the ones where they just slap each other back and forth. So that's why I pointed that out. Abi was 5-0 after that day after a close fight with Chiyoshima. Oshoma was 5-0 after a dominant win over Kinbozen. And Ura lost to Akami Fuji. He was now, at that point, 0-5. He looked really bad from the start, and he got his arm locked by a bigger opponent, so he really wasn't probably going to win that. um, Yoshino Fuji went on to go 3-2 after beating Takayasu. No, actually, I don't know who he beat. But reminder, he was the guy that beat two Yokozunas. So he's kind of inconsistent this tournament. We'll see that later on as well. But he definitely shows a lot of promise considering his age. Yeah, Takayasu, also known as Papa Bear, is 4-1 at this point. So he's had a really good tournament despite being one of the older wrestlers. Kirishima versus Oho was an amazing battle. It was back and forth, but Oho made a last-second move to throw him out and win. So Kirishima was 4-1. This was his first loss, and Oho was 2-3 at this point. After his loss in the fourth day, Aonishiki bounced back to beat Daisho. At this point, he was 4-1. And then lastly, Onosato almost lost to 0-4 Takanosho, but he jumped. So Takanosho's hand touched before Onosato's feet. My fight of the day for day 5 was Kirishima versus Oho. Moving on to day 6. Shishi bounced back after his loss the day before to beat Hatsuyama. He is 4-2 at that point. Oshumi won that day. He's 5-1. Abi won that day as well. He's 6-0 at that point. He had a pretty easy win against Asakoryu. And then Fujinokawa almost lost at the start of his match, but had a great recovery against Gonoyama. It was a great fight overall, and he is 5-1. His only loss was on day 1. So at that point, he had a 5-day win streak. Oshoma won against Chiranomi. Or no, actually, he lost against Chiranomi. He is now 5-1, which is his first loss of the tournament. And then Ura lost again. He is now 0-6 at this point. It was a pretty good battle though against Yoshino Fuji. So Yoshi is actually 4-2 now. And then Waka Mataharu got his first win of the tournament against Oho in a close fight. Kirishima went on to go 5-1 after beating Ichi Yamamoto. And Aonishiki beat Takayasu, aka Papa Bear, to go 5-1. Takayasu is now 4-2, but it was a good match overall, I thought. Aonishiki looked like he prepped well and accounted for everything. Both Yokozuna after this day were 5-1, and Abi became the only remaining undefeated wrestler during day 6. My fight of the day was Fujinokawa versus Gonoyama. Moving on to day 7. Asajoryu versus Tobizaru was a great fight. Both of them almost won at different times, but Asajoryu won in the end. Abi took his first loss of the tournament on day 7 against Asanoyama. He just didn't really look comfortable. Kind of slipped on the clay, I think, too. So at this point, there was no more undefeated wrestlers. Shishi went on to beat Chiyoshima. He's 5-2 at this point. And Ura finally got a win. He beat Ichi Yamamoto to go 1-6. I thought it was a pretty good fight too. Takayasu, Papa Bear, is now 5-2 after beating Oho. Yoshino Fuji lost to Kirishima, but it was a good fight. Yoshi is now 4-3, and Kirishima is 6-1. And Aonishiki beat Wakamata Haru, but it was a way closer fight than it should have been. Waka attempted a last-minute throw attempt, but Aonishiki countered it. Daieisho almost upset Onosato, but Onosato recovered and won. So Onosato is now 6-1. And then lastly, Hoshoryu had a really close match against, I'm not sure. I wrote his name twice for some reason. It went to a rematch, and then they both touched at the same time. That's actually why. They both touched at the same time, so it went to a rematch. In the rematch, Hoshoryu won, so he is also 6-1. So at the end of day 7, there was a 6-way tie, all of them being 6. That was Onosato, Hoshoryu, Aonishiki, Kirishima, Abi, and Oshumi. My fight of the day was Asajoryu versus Tobizaru. So yeah, at the end of day 7, having a 6-way tie really had me kind of nervous. I really thought like this is anyone's game. But that slowly started to change over the course of the next couple days. So moving on to day 8, Shishi beat Asa Asa Asahakoryu, so he's 6-2. I thought he's had a really great tournament so far, and he's has one of the most unique fighting styles. He likes to keep his distance and use his long arms to push people. And then Hatsuyama, who is a newly Division 1 promotion, is now 0-8. So it seems like he's probably going to get uh, depromoted, I suppose. He was going to go back down to the old division. But again, this is his, he's new to this division, so maybe he could bounce back someday. I'm not quite sure how old he is. I think he's pretty young. After his first loss yesterday, Abi bounced back to win over Toki Hayate. It was a pretty dominant win too. So now he's 7-1. And then Ura, unfortunately, even though he won for the first time the day before, lost to Wakataka Kage, who he is historically bad against. So there's really no surprise there, but it's still unfortunate to see Ura struggling so much this tournament. I will say though, people pointed out that he seems pretty happy despite losing, so some people are theorizing that he might retire soon and he's kind of just going out, having fun. Yoshino Fuji, unfortunately lost to Waka Mataharu, so he is 4-4 at the end of this day. Like I said, I think he shows a lot of potential this tournament. I think he just needs to build some consistency. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's still young, and he beat both Yokozuna, so that's a big achievement. Takayasu is now 6-2 after beating Ichi Yamamoto. And fun fact, this day's win became his 808th career win. This puts him at 16th all time in career wins. For reference, first place has 1,187 career wins, and I believe that guy I looked up had like a 87% winning percent or something like that. It was like 1,000 something wins to 200 losses, which is insane. Um, Onishiki and Kirishima fought. Both of them were 6-1 going into the match, and also both of their losses came from Oho. Onishiki lost, unfortunately, so he went on to be 6-2. Kirishima was 7-1. Daisho also upset Yokozuna Hoshoryu with a slapdown. He is now 2-6, and Hoshoryu is 6-2. The other Yokozuna, Onosato, also lost that day. He lost to Hakuno Fuji. So he's 6-2, and Hakuno Fuji is 5-3 at that point. So at the end of this day, two people are tied with a record of 7-1, that being Kirishima and Abi, which again is a big change from the six-way tie we saw the day before. My fight of the day was Daisho versus Hoshoryu. Moving on to day 9, Shishi beat Ryuden fairly easily. He moved on to 7-2, and Hatsuyama was 1-8 after beating Tomokaze. So now everyone in the tournament had at least one win because of that. After a decent start to the fight, Abi loses to Kodo Shoho. So Abi is now 7-2, and Kodo Shoho is 6-3. Fujinokawa beat Roga very quickly after he jumped to the side off the start. So Fuji is now 7-2. Tamawashi had a great fight against Oshoma. Oshoma almost won, but Tamawashi held on at the line, then eventually fought his way to a win. Really was a battle of strength between them. So Tamawashi's 3-6, and Oshoma is 5-4 now. After a bad start to the tournament, Daiyosho is showing life again. After beating Yokozuna yesterday, he went on to win against Hakuno Fuji to go on a 2-day win streak. He is now 3-6. Hakuno Fuji was 5-4 after this. So I was thinking at this point, maybe my initial predictions could still come true about him having a decent turn. In fact, with the amount of days left, he could still have a positive record by the end. At this point, I believe that did not end up coming true. I think he started losing again. After two losses in a row, Yoshino Fuji bounces back to win against Takanosho. He is now 5-4. Takanosho is 1-8. And Kirishima is now 8-1 after beating Ura, who is 1-8. This win guarantees a winning record for Kirishima. He was the first to guarantee a winning record this tournament. Nishiki bounced back after his loss the day before and beat Waka Takakage. He's now 7-2. I thought Onishiki looked like his normal self this fight, very explosive, with high endurance, on the fly thinking and power. So that was a good thing to see. I think I was really excited to see him bounce back. And Takayasu lost to Koto Zakura. They're both 6-3. Onosato loses fast to Waka Mataharu, so he is 6-3 now. So something about Onosato just seems off mentally. Um, Next we got Tommy Fuji beating Hoshoryu. He's 7-2 now. So both Yokozuna were struggling at this point. Tommy Fuji after this fight is on a 7-day win streak. He only lost the first 2 days. And then lastly, Kirishima is in the lead with a record of 8-1. Reminder, Nishiki lost to Kirishima, so if he wants to win, he might have to rely on others beating him, since he might not fight against him again, unless there's a playoff. My fight of the day was Onishiki versus Wakataka Kage. Day 10, Oshumi and Abi fought, and they were both 7-2 going into it. Abi almost lost, but he had a counter in the last second to win. So Abi is 8-2, Oshumi was 7-3. With this win, Abi is guaranteed to have a winning record this tournament. Shishi and Fujinokawa fought. They both were 7-2 going into it. Started off pretty even and fast-paced. Shishi almost went out, but once he got his footing, he threw Fujinokawa really far out the ring into the crowd. It actually was one of the best hits I've ever seen. Really one of the best fights of the tournament. So if you're going to watch any fight, watch day 10, Shishi versus Fujinokawa. Shishi is now 8-2, securing a winning tournament, and Fujinokawa is 7-3. Daioshi beat Ura, but it was a close fight. He's now 4-6. Ura is 1-9. Takayasu beat Yoshino Fuji. Yoshino Fuji did well, but just couldn't handle all the slaps. He eventually tired out. Yoshi is now 5-5, and Takayasu is 7-3. I've been really impressed with Taku this tournament. And Kirishima and Koto Zakura had a back and forth fight, but Koto Zakura won in the end. He is 8-2. And Kirishima is 8-2. Koto Zakura is 7-3. Takanosho put up a good fight against Aonishiki, but Aonishiki kept his balance and composure to win. Aonishiki was 8-2. This also secures Aonishiki a winning tournament this record. Or this winning record this tournament. Hoshoryu beat Oho to ensure he doesn't lose 3 days in a row. He's now 7-3. And Atami Fuji and Onosato had to rematch after a very close fight. Atami Fuji was on a 7-day winning streak, and Onosato was at risk of losing 3 days in a row. After the rematch, Onosato lost, so that means Atami Fuji is on an 8-day win streak at this point, and Onosato is 6-4 with a 3-day losing streak. Definitely not a good sign for Yokozuna. And then after day 10, there was a 5-way tie for first, with a record of 8-2, that being Aonishiki, Kirishima, Atami Fuji, Abi, and Shishi. Ichi Yamamoto and Ura, as well as Takanosho and Hatsuyama, are guaranteed to have a losing record this tournament now. My fight of the day was Shishi versus Fujinokawa, but I have to admit, Onosato versus Akami Fuji, and the rematch was a pretty good fight too. And this brings us to the last day, day 11. 8-2 Shishi had to fight 8-2 Abi. This was a very big game, or big fight. It could really determine if one of these people would go on to win the tournament as a whole. Abi sidestepped off the start, and so Shishi kind of lost from the start. Honestly, a smart move by Abi, although it was a bit underwhelming of a fight in the end. Abi is now 9-2. Asano Yama secured a winning record this tournament with his win over Hirodumi. He is now 8-3. Hirodumi is 7-4. Atami Fuji beat Fujinokawa. He's now 9-2. Fujinokawa is 7-4. Daiyosho loses immediately to Onokatsu. He was thrown down. And Daiyosho is now 4-7. Onokatsu is 5-6. And then Ura, no surprise to anyone, lost again. This time to Waka Mataharu. He is now 1-10. Yoshino Fuji beat Oho. He's 6-5 now. And Aonishiki won against Hakuno Fuji. But Hakuno Fuji seemed to injure his knee mid-fight. So Aonishiki's now 9-2. Hakuno Fuji's 5-6, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's done this tournament. He might sit out the rest of his fights. It seemed like a pretty bad injury. I mean, he basically just was standing up, and the next thing you know, he's sitting down. So possibly an ACL, maybe? Who knows? He did walk away though, but he was limping. Then Takanosho upset Koto Zakura. He's 2-9, and Koto Zakura is now 7-4. Kirishima fought Onosato, and Kirishima was 8-2. Onosato was on a 3-day losing streak going into this match, and Onosato actually won, so he's 7-4, and Kirishima's 8-3. Kirishima is now 0-10 versus Onosato all time. Could be the reason Kirishima doesn't win the tournament, actually. And then lastly, Hoshoryu beat Takayasu in a close fight. So he's 8-3, securing him a winning record, and Takayasu's 7-4. I still think Takayasu's having a great tournament though. So my fight of the day is actually I didn't have one. Nothing really stood out to me. But if I had to pick one, probably Takanosho versus Kotozakura because of the upset. With that being said, like I mentioned earlier, there's a three-way tie with Aonishiki, Atami Fuji, and Abi having a 9-2 record. I really feel like Aonishiki might go on to win this tournament. Thoughts?
Well, both of my favorite sumo wrestlers are in the top, so hopefully one of them win. Anishki and Abi.
Yeah, they're definitely two of my favorites as well. So, um, I think Aonishiki just needs to close out strong, and I don't think Aonishiki has fought Abi yet, so that should be a pretty fun matchup. Yeah, that's about it for the sumo, unless you have anything to add. It's a lot. It's a lot to watch a match every day, or I guess not just a single match, but you know.
If I could, I'd watch it, but like I said, I've been busy this week, but I'm gonna try to watch it again for what is there? Three more? Four more?
Uh, four more. Yep. I really do think it might come down to the final day. And now something I don't know is if a tournament ends in a tie with more than two players, I don't know how the um, playoff works because traditionally they just have the top two fighting each other if it's like a two-way tie. So if it's an odd number, especially, I don't know how they do that. Maybe it's like round robin, but that'd be like a lot of fights in one day. You know what? I'll look it up while we move on to the next segment.
So we will be moving on to the miscellaneous, which up first we have some surprising but also intriguing news in a federal indictment unsealed in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. 20 men were charged in a point shaving scheme. The scheme included more than 29 college basketball games and it included more than 39 players on at least 17 of the games. Authorities described the five defendants as fixers who recruited players to participate in the scheme and offered bribes ranging from 10,000 to 30,000 to intentionally underperform. The bettors then placed and won millions of dollars in wagers on the fixed games, according to prosecutors. So, some schools involved in the indictment are Abilene Christian, Alabama State, Buffalo, Coppin State, DePaul, Eastern Michigan, Fordham, Kennesaw State, LaSalle, I don't remember how to say it. New Orleans, Nichols State, North Carolina A&M, uh, Northwestern State, Robert Morris, St. Louis, Southern Miss, and Tulane. And there were players named, but we're not going to name players because we do not want to ruin their reputation.
Yeah, really a
Although,
crazy, crazy thing in general.
it's crazy that we had the NBA and now we got college basketball. So really everywhere in basketball is getting hit by the betting scandals. Up next, we got star outfielder Kyle Tucker signed with the Dodgers. So there's your World Series winner for next season.
Yeah. I actually just finished looking up that thing. So they basically do a round robin tournament where everyone plays everyone. So if there's three wrestlers, they would play everyone once, and then the first person to go 2-0 wins. If everyone goes like 1-1, then they basically just reset and randomly draw who you have to fight again. It said that this is very rare though, so usually it gets resolved very quickly. But some people claim that it's a little unfair because one person, like if they get a fight first, they just have to win like one game to guarantee that they can make it to the final, whereas the person that goes last has to win two in a row. So I don't know, it's kind of interesting, but it does sound like it's very rare. So if there is going to be a playoff, it'll probably be between two people. But yeah, that's definitely interesting. So if that happens, that would be an insane way to end this tournament. In other news, the MLB Hall of Fame class of 2026 has been released, at least the one so far. We have Carlos Beltran, Andrew Jones, and Jeff Kent.
Congratulations to those players. I don't know the MLB all that well, but I have heard of Carlos Beltran before. So hopefully, in the next couple months, when spring training starts up, we can get a little bit more involved in baseball and learn a little bit more about the players and stuff. Charles Bediaco has been granted a temporary restraining order and is immediately eligible to participate for Alabama basketball. He is a professional player for the Motor City Crews of the G League. I believe that's the Detroit Pistons G League team. He previously played at Alabama from 2021 to 2023. We currently had an instance like this 3 episodes back, I believe, with that guy from Europe who was drafted in the NBA and now he's playing college basketball. I don't remember where it was.
Yeah, well, anyways, uh, Miami, Ohio men's basketball team is ranked for the first time since 1999. So congratulations to them. I wonder if they are going to qualify for March Madness. That could be a fun underdog team to have winning in your brackets.
And finally, the last thing we have for you today for this podcast is unranked UCLA upset number 4 Purdue 69 to 67.
Yeah, pretty big upset there, even though I know traditionally UCLA is a pretty good team. But like he said, they are unranked this season.
I was going to say UCLA currently has 13 wins this season, so they're not really a big underdog for that game, but I know Purdue's a pretty good team this year.
Yeah. I mean, either way, number four team, you expect them to take care of business. Well, with that being said, I think that will do it for this episode. Um, Next week might be a little shorter than normal. I'm not really sure. I have a lot of stuff going on with school and going back home and trying to bring my computer with me, and I'm going to Michigan, so there's a whole lot of stuff going on. But either way, we are glad you listened to this episode, and regardless of what next week looks like, we will see you then.
Yep. Thanks for stopping by.
See ya.
See ya.